Hello and welcome to Asterix at the Olympics Take 2. And I definitely shared the sound on the intro that time, so I don't know what's going on with it.
I don't. And
we'll keep trying.
And we don't know. We don't know what YouTube's issue there was. We have no idea. Hissy has put in an appeal on this, and hopefully we'll get that first 10-15 minutes back.
Yeah.
So, but just I'll just do a quick recap for those who might have only just joined, who haven't seen the Olympic Games is coming up. One of the Roman legionaries from one of the camps has been chosen. They're all excited about it. Unfortunately, we kind of got to a point where he ran into Asterix and Obelix in the woods and was pretty much darn shown up by them a bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I hope, because we are. I'll just say we are confident we're going to get those. We're going to get that. We're going to get that start that back. So
yeah.
Okay. So so you've got it up. This is where I think we've gotten to the bottom of this page.
Yeah. So our poor troubled Roman.
Yeah.
Has realised that 2 goals, a titch and a fat one with a punch.
Yep.
Can beat him in all the sports. So
yep.
He's clearly not as good as he thinks he is.
Mm.
And of course, the minute he describes them, their description is recognised because they're now known to the Romans.
Yeah. Okay, so we go over here. Next page. He's this guy. He's feeling so low. He's going to go off. He's going to go off and do fatigue duties. Centurion decides he's going to actually go and have a parlay with Vital Statistics here, and I guess I asked them for them to leave him alone. So I find this kind of hilarious that he's Vital Statistics is in the bath, and so this Roman's coming here for. This is how little. He's not really showing very, but I love the fact it's official visit. Let's observe the correct protocol. So he's still in the bath. They still carry him out on his shield. I love it.
Yeah, this amuses me. It's typical problem solving, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So he explains to him one of his men's been chosen to represent Rome at the Olympics, and that your goals some of your goals entirely unprovoked, gone and got him off his stride. All I ask is he'd be allowed to train in peace. He says, I'll think about it, let you have the answer. Cheerio.
Have it.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, I kind of feel a little bit bad for the Roman here in a way, because he has actually asked nicely.
He has, hasn't he? And the thing is as well, this kind of sort of Gallo-Roman relations on a micro level probably would have happened.
Yeah.
Because you cannot control large swathes of land without having some connections with the locals. It's impossible. So probably, to be fair, this is probably closer to what the actual diplomacy of the era looked like, as opposed to the previous dozen books that we've done where they're all, biff, baff, boff, and off they go.
So obviously Vital Statistics has to ask what exactly the Olympic Games are. Gedefis explains them. They're something they take place every 4 years at Olympia in Greece, where the Hellenes, which obviously the Greeks, in month of, what's that? I can't read that. Basically, it's July, August. So it's about a similar sort of time as they're held now, I suppose.
Hecatombien, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously different calendars going about, but that's about the right translation, I would think. And then they consist of a sacred truce that lasts for 5 days. So again, this is another thing that carries over, I think, into the modern Olympics. Doesn't matter what countries are at war when the Olympics are on; they're all going to the Olympics.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was there. It was a. I mean, obviously going into the Roman era or whatever, because the game still took place very much in the Roman era. But I mean, back in the sort of I suppose the kind of like the height of ancient Greece. I mean, generally, I think the Spartans were generally the peacekeepers at the games, but it was the sort of thing that, yeah, even if say Sparta and Athens, like it's like say the Peloponnesian War or something, for the Olympics, that was all that put aside. They go to Olympia. It's and the games are on, and there's no. It's Pete, it's
you are what you are. They fought in nothing, and at the end of the day, it's just every man for himself. So it is that thing. It's also, I feel like possibly in wars, you do get the sense occasionally it may have been a bit more of a varsity final feel.
Yeah.
As there will have been. Everyone knows what side each one's on, and are they playing out their national politics on a sports stage? Quite possibly. Everyone does it. We all, it happens in football in modern days. An example.
Very much happens. Very much happens in sport today.
I'll be careful how I word it, but Santi's in the chat and he knows full well that when England and Argentina get on a football pitch together, what's being played out there.
Yeah, maybe not so much these days, but
not
it's
so much, but
still a little,
historically,
yeah, still a bit of a there's still a little bit of a rivalry there.
Although we do, I think I personally I take it as a bit of good, clean fun, a bit of banter. That's about it.
To be honest, I mean, I actually think Argentina's maybe got a little bit more legitimate to be angry about. He's asked most English people; they're more angry about that blooming the hands of God of Maradona in '86. Actually,
oh, Maradona.
Yeah, so they actually, I have to say, one of my favourite goals in football was scored by him in that match, and it wasn't obviously not the one he handballed in, but the one he scored about 5 minutes later, which was one of my favourite goals ever. So
yeah,
so
politics and sport, you can't separate them. You try, but you can't. Is the takeaway from this bit?
Yeah, and obviously, but a lot of examples in history, and obviously we've only just got back up. But the less said about the 1936 Olympics, the better.
Yeah.
So everyone knows
what happened. Interrupted.
Yeah, everyone knows what happened there. So
yeah, let's not.
So let's not tempt fate by going into too much detail.
Yeah, we've already been cut off once.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. So here we go.
So he's vital statistics. Yeah, the Centurions try to tell the athlete, look, they won't bother you. They're not going to. And the vital statistics turns up here and says, I love the way he's just like, watch ya. All the way he just greets people. And he's decided, and when he tells them, we've decided to enter the Olympic Games, and yes, we'll send a champion to Olympia, and may the best man win. Cheerio. And then the poor guy, you see, like he's getting nervous. He's with the broom there. He's like, I enjoy this.
Sweeping up a bit of a storm. But then obviously the Greeks aren't going to have the potion. And off we go. And now I do like this bit about, I'm going to show them I'm friendly by observing their own customs, which we kind of skipped over a bit, but that does amuse me.
Yeah.
Because that's just, definitely a bit of fun going on there. And then here we have, you can't enter the Olympic Games, they're exclusively for Greeks. Free
Greek,
Hellenic citizens.
Greeks and Romans, wasn't it? He said.
Greeks and Romans, yeah.
Yeah.
The only outsiders allowed are Romans.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, because the Romans were the occupational force.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was kind of the case in like the sort of the Hellenic period. And it was a sort of Greece affair, only affair. With just the city states sending their athletes to the games. I mean, obviously, I mean, one very famous Roman did compete in the games much later and won a number of events. That being the Emperor Nero. Now we can probably imagine there that some if let's just say I don't know what events it was he won, but if it was boxing, I guarantee you somebody took a dive.
Yeah, definitely. Because Nero was not.
Everybody knows Nero was unstable and the most powerful man in the world, and you didn't necessarily want to upset him by like beating him.
Yeah.
So, but there's one very famous Roman that did compete in the games and won.
Although how he won, it's a little like
we can.
Was it Nero or was it Commodus who went round and was supposedly lauded as master of theatre and oration?
Yeah.
Was it Commodus?
Actually, I just saw he famously competed in gladiatorial games, which was not supposed to be becoming of a Roman emperor. And I just saw what Santi said in the chat, and possibly that's what it is. So I won't repeat it because all I'll just say is YouTube is being very, very trigger happy right now but we'll,
Yeah. Now, there's a great story of a Roman emperor, and quite clearly, I can't remember which one. Apparently, was touring the empire as part of a traveling theatre troupe, and entered a competition, or tried to get a part in a local play, and was genuinely nervous that they weren't going to give him the part.
I almost guarantee that very much sounds like Nero, actually.
It does, doesn't it?
Very much sounds like Nero.
Quite possibly. There's the story about that because he genuinely believed he was, and yet he won every single one he entered. So he must have believed he was doing it on his own merit. So there's a fine line at the intersect between arrogance and ignorance.
Yeah,
and like prizes for tightrope walking on that one.
But anyway, as it's pointed out that only Greeks and Romans, Asterix realizes, hold on, technically we are Romans, and so, he has to explain this as well. Since Julius Caesar has conquered Gaul, he's commented on length on the subject that we're Roman. All Gauls are now Romans.
Yeah, he has commented at length on it. He's written a book.
Of course, Gaul is now part of the Roman world. And it's even though they haven't been conquered, this particular little tribe here hasn't been conquered. Which of course we've talked about before was one of the successes of the Roman Empire. That that there was the kind of inclusion for conquered peoples. It was like I said, there was a carrot and there was the carrot and the stick. And that you were made to feel, and conquered peoples were invited kind of to become Romans or whatever, so there's a bit of precedent on that.
Yeah, a little bit going on. I mean, it's kind of the sticking the Romans in between a rock and a hard place, because if they show up at the Olympics and say we're Romans, and the Romans say you're not because we haven't taken over your area, the Greeks going to want to know why. And if they show up and they're allowed to compete, then the Romans have got to claim them as Rome. So they're kind of double-edged sword going on here. Got to be careful how you go about it. That could create some interesting politics in the succeeding years, shall we say.
So they're organising to go in. So meanwhile, back at the camp, our athletes back in training, and he's supposed doing some boxing and wrestling training. All these other poor legionaries are getting thrown about like rag dolls.
Yeah, I do like this comment from this poor legionary here. Join the army, they said. An atmosphere of healthy comradeship, they said.
Yeah.
Comrade. My tongue tried to say camaraderie and comradeship at the same time. I don't know why it did that. I apologize.
They do. I'll tell you what, that's a lot of recurring thing with Rome. I mean, there's a lot of recurring themes in there. These books with like grumbling Roman soldiers.
Oh, definitely.
Which I think is brilliant.
Yeah, because it's probably more true to life than you'd think.
But I love the fact that they're the Gauls show up at the camp, says, "We're Romans, up with the Romans," and the Centurions. These Romans are crazy.
Yeah. In fact, because I get to use my banners, so let's have a look. Yes, these Romans are crazy. I do like this one. I ask you. You fight people, you massacre them, you invade and occupy their territory, and then they turn against you for no reason at all. He's genuinely surprised.
Yeah. There we go. That was you. I don't know if you can explain the Latin going on here, because I'm not. I don't.
The Latin going on here. Let me have a look.
On the next page, yeah.
I'm trying to rapidly translate it, and it's not working. I took note of it. I know I did. You know, because yeah.
If you find your notes, we'll come back to it. If it's I just assumed I've just thought, oh, there's a bit of Latin here. I'll defer.
Yeah.
I tend to defer to you on these things.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at it here. Hang on. The centurion goes, meaning, and now kings understand, you who decide the fate of the earth, educate yourself. He's basically just whinging about Caesar invading France without thinking about the impact on his career.
I guess it had something to do with it, because the word intelligent, you know, I kind of gathered that. But now, like now that the centurion starts doing the fatigue things, he's so he kind of realised the Gauls have got him over a barrel here. So they got the magic potion that reminds them they're invincible. They're all getting a bit of this and getting ready to have a bit of training now after their feast. Oh, hold on. Have I missed a page here, or am I?
I think
I may have done.
May have.
Yes, I have. I'm sorry, I missed a couple of panels. So here's the problem. They all have a big race. They're all pumped full of their own magic potion, meaning they can't outperform one another. And of course, Obelix, ironically though, Dogmatic seems to be outdoing them all.
Yeah, but he's got 4 legs. They've only got 2 each.
Yeah.
This is my excuse every time a dog outruns me.
Yeah. And we've got there we got fully automatics and geriatrics having a argument there over and then if we go on to the next one here, so they're all arguing over who gets to represent the village here.
I do like Obelix's way of deciding how Dogmatics is better.
Yeah.
Dogmatics is better than you. How? Well, can you scratch your ear with your hind leg? Well,
yeah.
First of all, I don't have a hind leg. So I do like. I have to say, I am going to stop and comment and say the humor in this does stay very light-hearted throughout.
Yeah.
So it is a very nice, just sort of easygoing story. So for anyone expecting like a deep philosophical twist or something, not this week.
I love
it's nice.
I love the fact that I love the fact that Gedifix said, "Order, the Olympic Committee has chosen our team." which is very much a modern Olympic reference. Asterix is, so of course you know who it's going to be. It's going to be Asterix, and it's going to be Obelix.
Yeah.
Mainly, and
I mean, the reasoning's sound.
Yeah.
Asterix is the clever one who got them in, and Obelix doesn't need the potion because he fell in it when he was a baby.
Yeah. So
he's also found the only person in the village who hasn't heard that story.
Yeah.
So.
But so I love the bottom panel there. They're all everyone's agreed on them except Fully Automatics, who's trying to scratch his ear with his.
I mean, he's trying.
Gotta give him his due.
What's a well balanced? I love this gag here. Yeah, it's very stereotypical. Anywhere you go, I'm sure everyone's got their equivalent of it. You go somewhere, you eat the foreign food, and your stomach does not like it. But then, of course, the druid Getafix decides he's going to set them a well-balanced diet.
Yep. Pause. Plenty of pause.
Yeah. And Cacophonix wants to... I love how we didn't have to wait until the end for him to get the smack around the head this time.
I will now compose an Olympic hymn. No, you're not.
I do like the pun here. He gets a smack, lands on his face. What's wrong with him? What's wrong with his hymn? I think he's singing flat.
Yeah.
Yes, well, you would be too if you'd landed face first.
Yeah, I mean, I think you notice out of all of the ghouls in the village, you've got it in for Cacophonix. It's Fully Automatics more than anyone that seems to have it in for his singing.
These last two panels amuse me. The athletes doing their packing. I love the idea of Obelix carrying a Mania all the way to Greece.
Yeah,
it just amuses me. Can you imagine the excess baggage cost on that?
Yeah.
I just
Oh, totally.
Anyway, off we go.
Yeah, and we just go to the next page. They're all up and marching off. Now all the guys are going. So you notice this they left all the women behind. Right. So they make the most.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Warning.
Oh.
Okay.
Next page.
No. If all the men in a specific area left for any reason, I assure you, tidying up is not the first thing women would think to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I just put that out there?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's that hissy fit. Also, we are meeting our pirates, so as usual, trigger warning for that and insensitive racial depictions.
Right. Yes. Now we're going to be skipping through the next couple of pages very quickly because of that. Okay. So they're all on board the ship.
We have galley.
Yeah.
And if you stay here, I'll explain what goes on in the next bit. So the chiefs essentially set them up to get them a ride, and they're actually going to be rowing as they go in exchange for their free ride. And then they set off they go. And then they meet the pirate galley.
Yeah.
And if you want to skip the next page and then go halfway down, skip the next 2 pages. They meet the pirate galley. Boarding pirate vessels is not included in fare; it's extra. And then Chief gets irritated, and once it's them who ends up in the water.
So, So we get to yeah. So eventually, I'm just skipping this just to try and get past all
No,
of
we're
these.
okay once you get to the map of Gaul.
No, there's one more after that.
One more. Yeah, there's one more at the bottom of that page.
Yeah. So
yeah, here we go. On the way to Gaul. And rowing songs, a little bit like, you know, songs to help you row in time kind of thing. Arriving the night before as usual, farewell party aboard the ship, and they come into port with the sunrise. And that is, you'll not be able to scroll down and show it without showing the other stuff.
I've already flipped it. Actually, to be honest, I've already flipped it here. See, I'm trying not to take chances after what happened earlier.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But that is a very beautiful sunrise they've drawn there.
Yeah.
So if anyone has got the book, do have a look at it and try and ignore the panel next to it, because that is really problematic. But anyway, moving on.
As we've said before, unless it's like a panel that's somewhat important to the plot in some way, where there's no way around it, we're trying not to show those things as much as possible.
I mean, it's not even subtle on the last page.
We've gone through it a dozen times already about our stance on this.
Yeah.
So
I will say for those pages, I will say that I have seen video games. You know, I've seen like Mario video games that weren't as unsubtle as that in the racial drawings.
Yeah.
So do watch it if you do read this. But you can skip past it as we've just done. So it is there.
Yeah.
So anyway, they arrive, and don't forget the boars off the ship.
Yep. They get the boars. So they arrive. Yeah, they arrive in. They've arrived here in Athens.
And we establish very quickly that the Greeks are going to have ET's names, because their guide, a darkly bearded gentleman by the name of Diabetes.
Yeah.
Is it going to show them where all the sugar is? I'm not sure where that joke's going to go, but let's see.
I don't know.
So they're heading into Athens.
Geriatrics deciding he's going to have a little fling with the ladies, I think, and then doesn't know he's being called off, so he can't. He said it's trouble with all these organised trips. You're never free to go and do your own thing.
Anyone who's ever been on a coach trip knows that's true.
This is what I'm going to actually explain about this. You haven't actually seen the Mrs. Geriatrics yet, but this is the weird thing about him. Is you got the oldest man in the village, who's quite clearly a very, very old man, whatever. Yeah, has the most gorgeous young blonde lady who's married to him, which you'll see in some of the later books. So
no comment on that until I've seen it, but you can imagine what kind of thoughts go around there.
Yeah.
So I do love how everyone is Diabetes' cousin here. The chariot driver, Kudos, a cousin of mine. You can exchange your sesterti for Obo's drachma and mines at Michaela's place, and you're quite safe. He's a cousin of mine. I'll drive you to a hotel in Athens. My cousin is a manager there.
Yeah.
I think that's a comment on how small the Greek islands are.
Yeah. So we get to which I'm going to get here. I like the bottom page. I think that's quite a lovely cartoon drawing of the Acropolis. Actually,
that is actually a really nice, and I mean it's yeah.
I actually think that's quite a nice drawing of it.
Yeah, I think this book in particular does showcase the ability to draw landscapes really well.
Yeah. I definitely think that's one of Albert Uderzo's big strengths as an artist, like this, doing some of the landscapes in the buildings and that he does sometimes are just really good. Unfortunately, I mean, it's just a shame sometimes he lets them down, but with one or two himself down with some caricatures that aren't too good.
Yeah.
But
I mean, his artworks, and you really don't expect it in a comic like this. It's almost like it's an entirely different art style to the rest of it.
I mean,
it does jump out at you when he does it.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt. I mean, I will comment that, despite obviously what we said about the caricatures are awful at times, but the actual animation, the drawing is really good. You can't take that away from it. Have I skipped a page accidentally? I think I may have done.
You may have done, yeah.
I'm back to where we were. So they're in there. So you've got a Gluteus Maximus and the Centurion there. They suddenly see that they've got some guests or whatever. So we go over to the next page. Where are we? Yeah. Except for the wild boars, who are very fussy animals, everyone is pleased with the accommodation.
Yeah, that just amuses me for so many reasons.
Yeah.
You can just see it, can't you? Like, down to earth, muddy. These girls have just arrived and they're all sort of, salt of the earth types. And then the pigs just, no.
And it's also the fact that, it's a good comment on the fact that there's the big misconception about pigs that they're dirty animals, and when they're not,
they're really not. They're incredibly clean animals. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is that to go on. So I do like this. When they're at the Acropolis, some of the comments pass. You can just imagine walking through a modern group of tourists and hearing this. It reminds me of home. On what are you doing here? And it's not bad if you like columns.
Yeah, and I like that Obelix. Like, what? No dolmens. He's disappointed. He don't. Whereas I suppose
even the next panel, you can just hear it, can't you? What do you think? Magnificent. It's quite good for foreigners.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know if this is. You see, certain countries in the world. I know Brits have got a bit of a reputation for it, and I know people I know think Americans have got a reputation for it. Comparing everything to home and finding it wanting.
Yeah.
And to people who go to ancient monuments, no matter where you're from in the world, if you go to ancient monuments or foreign cities and all you've got to say is, we've got it better at home, or it's bigger at home, or whatever, well, then stay home. Because
you don't. Yeah, I mean,
people irritate me so much.
I mean, I think there's definitely probably one or two ancient monuments that I've maybe been disappointed when I've seen in the flesh, that they maybe weren't what I was expecting. You build something up like the Colosseum in Rome, for example. It was just, I don't know.
Yeah, you do build it up, but there's a difference between saying, "Oh, but we've got a football stadium at home that's bigger than that,"
Yeah, exactly. I mean, one place I can say that did not disappoint, and was actually even better when I saw it in the flesh than I ever imagined it would be, was Machu Picchu. So so there's there's definite.
I mean, for me, I went to Rome with sort of, my expectations weren't necessarily built up because I went, a few years ago. And I didn't know a lot about it. And you stand, look up at the Colosseum for long enough, you'll fall backwards because you think it's going to fall on you.
Yeah.
It's one of those, it's an optical illusion. It's absolutely wicked. And if you get to see it in the dark, they've got it set now so it's all lit up and they've cleaned it up recently.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I cannot, I cannot fault it. But just, if you've heard about it for decades and decades and you go, it's going to be a letdown. I completely appreciate that. But it's more, you go down to London and places and you overhear people and they're saying, oh, it's so small compared to where we're from, or isn't that quaint?
Yeah.
No. Stop it.
No, I'm sorry. You're gonna Are you gonna blooming start making the comparisons to the blooming like the Colosseum and for well, I don't know, Wembley Stadium or something? It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
yes, the Colosseum is a lot smaller than something like Wembley Stadium, but it's you. Come on,
the
look,
Colosseum was built 2,500 years ago without
yeah,
machines.
and it
You try it.
and it could seat 50,000 people. So
Also, can I point out, it's not a fair comparison until Wembley Stadium has stood for 2,000 years. I sincerely doubt Wembley Stadium will still be about in 2,000 years.
no, well, they've already knocked down one of them already, so rebuilt. So, but
it's that ancient Roman workmanship, you can't beat it.
yeah. Anyway, we diverged a bit here.
So anyway, they're doing the tourist thing.
Yeah. Romans aren't too happy to see them.
And Asterix playing the Roman there. They're saying, I'd give you back to Gaul or repatriate the lot of you. Yeah. Oh, it offends my Roman spirit to hear you talk like that.
Oh, I thought that was so funny, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is as well, historically, people would have tried to integrate with the Romans. They would have tried to Romanize themselves. Yeah. So it's a bit of a satire on that, really, isn't it?
Yeah. And then, of course, like I said, Vital Statistics mentions, we'll be using the magic potion. We'd be dumb not to. And he said, look, that's not fair. That's what's going to become of us. And obviously, kind of know where the story's going here with this. And I love the fact you got this. I love the fact that we. Oh, damn it. I don't know why my Kindle thing keeps jumping today badly.
Yeah.
It keeps doing it.
Maybe if you try to scroll with your mouse.
I am gonna try that actually. That's not doing much good either. Actually, it's making me get. That's
essentially they get a nice afternoon in a wine garden and all the food they can eat, and there's still at least one old fella from the group, and this is what I'm getting at when he says, they've been trying stuffed vine leaves, kebabs, olives, watermelon, fresh wine, still not a patch on board, he says.
Yeah.
This is what I mean by this. Yeah, so Thermos has a restaurant, as Ring has pointed out as well. Another one of their guide's cousins. And I can see why he's called Diabetes now, the amount of food he's introducing them to.
I will, and I will actually, I will actually have to say I didn't particularly get on with Greek cuisine when I went there myself. So, but one of them things.
It is one of those as well where when you go somewhere, it's one thing to think it, just don't say it out loud to the locals. It's rude.
Yeah.
It's one of those. You can go somewhere. You can probably find an English style pub that'll cook you up chips and whatever you want, sausage and chips. We found one in Spain and another one in Greece.
Well, I'll say we actually discovered an Irish bar in Cuzco. So
yeah.
So that's I mean that's a bit of a meme, isn't it? That no matter where you go, you find the Irish bar, and you just knew where the Brits and American tourists were going to be.
Yeah.
So,
but it's a genuine Irish bar. How do you spot a genuine Irish bar anywhere in the world?
Go on.
Guinness on tap.
No, this one didn't. That could be a slight detour, but the one in Cuzco, that's a record being like the highest altitude-wise Irish bar in the world. It's also pretty difficult to get Guinness shipped there. They were for a while, and then it would be there, and it was sort of spoiled while it's there. So they had some sort of stout, some very good stout of their own making, actually, which was.
I mean, at least they tried, so I can't argue with that. It's fair enough.
Yeah.
But generally, most Irish bars you go into around the world, the only reason well, unless the actual manager is Irish, it's going to be that it's Guinness on tap. That's what differentiates
it.
it.
To be honest, now this next page where you see like geriatrics in particular, and it is a bit, but I almost get this almost reminds me of blooming British tourists in certain like a place in the Mediterranean or whatever, and nightclubs and stuff.
Oh yeah, no, we do have a bit of a reputation. We have a bit of a reputation of being a bit too loud, a bit too friendly with the barman, the blokes generally. It's one of those people cut loose on holiday and they cut a little bit too loose, and it's developed a reputation.
We Brits do have a reputation for that, but I mean, I've got to be honest.
I will say he's not done anything too nasty here. He's just got up and had a dance. And to be fair, I don't need you drinking me to do that, so I can't see anything wrong with what he's doing.
Yeah.
So he's managed to get drunk and suddenly feels 10 years younger.
And that's apparently that's their opponent's training.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Let's skip on to the next. So now we're at Olympia, and again, landscape drawings here, fantastic here.
Yeah.
The way he's drawn, the way these have been drawn, and of all the sacred enclosures and that, with the magistrate shit, with the horses, where the Olympic Senate sits.
Yeah, it's all. I mean, I haven't been to Greece to see this, so I wouldn't know how accurate it is. But it looks very well laid out, and the artist in this does have a habit of basing his landscapes off actual real landscapes. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was very close.
Quite possibly.
I do have to say, this joke about Heracles.
To be honest, I've actually just Googled some pictures of Olympia, and obviously it's a bit difficult when you're looking at ruins or whatever, but it does look like a very spectacular city.
Yeah.
So, and it doesn't look like he's got stuff too wrong. And of course, I think by this time, one of the ancient, the 7 ancient wonders of the world was housed in Olympia. That was a great big gold statue of Zeus. And the tradition of with the modern Olympics as well, that the Olympic torch every time is lit at Mount Olympus.
Yeah, at Mount Olympus and taken.
Yeah, well, that's a modern. I mean, the torch thing's a modern tradition that was introduced in the games. We're not going to talk too much about, but the 1936 games. But a lot of those things like the Olympic torch and flames were brought in on that particular Olympics.
Yeah, so. And a lot of it as well, it is designed, and there is a history of this, of taking ancient practices in some way or another and using them to try and give modern practice more gravitas or more to make them seem more valid in some way or another. So it does not surprise me in the slightest that in 1936 someone looked at it and said, how do we convince the world we are legitimate and are hosting this legitimately? Oh, I know, we'll light the flame from Mount Olympus. That does not surprise me in the slightest, because then it creates a historical link back, and as you create that link back, you bring the legitimacy forward. And there's a lot of it goes on, especially with classics and in classical reception. That's what a lot of classical reception is. You see it all the time. There's a reason certain symbols are pulled from ancient Rome and ancient Greece and used over and over again in specific settings, because the people who are using them want to draw on that history and want you to believe that they are just as valid as these civilizations that have survived thousands of years, and therefore that they and their ideas are going to survive for thousands of years. That's the message you're receiving when you see things like that. So if you take away one thing from this stream, at least, please always receive things like that critically. look at where it came from and why it was taken in the way it was.
Yes.
Because it can give a lot of twisted ideas about the way the world is, but it can also open your eyes when you look at it critically into really how the world is.
So, meanwhile, we got the athletes are in training. If we go on a little further, now, and they're coming in. They're coming in to talk to a lot of the other Greeks and Greco-Romans here, and they've had to sort of tell them about the problem with the Gauls. And they're at the registration desk here.
Yeah. Now, if you don't mind, could you zoom in on the registration desk?
Hold on. Give me a sec. I can do that.
Because I'm not sure if anyone is aware, but this is something I found out when researching this. These two characters are actually caricatures of Goskane and Adero himself.
Ah, see, now I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't actually know that.
You see them taking tickets and later umpiring track events. So,
okay.
it's either these two or it's the where is it?
It wouldn't surprise me though. That's I mean, that's done a lot. A lot of things like that is done in comics anyway. It's little inside jokes.
Yeah.
So
keep an eye out for them because they do umpire as well, and you will see them again.
Yeah. It's a bit like the story with I think Jack Kirby messing with Stan Lee one time with Marvel Comics or whatever, and the time when Doctor Doom unmasked for the first time, and Jack Kirby kind of drew a caricature of Stan Lee's face as a Stan Lee Doctor Doom. So that was, there's little things like that would always been done in comics.
Yeah, nice little Easter egg there that I thought I'd point out.
Yeah.
I do like the comment made as well. Ancient Rome is getting really decadent. Oh, I'll say. That's, to me, just sounds straight. I hear that in Frankie Howard's voice in a Carry On movie. That's how I hear
it. Or at Pompeii or something. Yeah.
That's what I hear there.
Good old Lurkio from Hot Pompeii.
Yeah, if you're going to watch that one, that's definitely not appropriate for YouTube. But if you do watch it, enjoy. Not suitable for minors.
Yeah, that could be something that could be something we might do as a future project review at Pompeii or something, you know.
I'll give that stream about 3 minutes before it's flagged.
Yeah, more than likely. Well, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway. So in they go.
Yeah.
And
yeah, so you get the this guy saying, I represent Rome in all the I hear you're very strong, Gaul, but I don't believe it. Come on and prove it by Minerva. Asterix has a quick slug, knocks it, bang.
Can I prove it too, Asterix? Says Obelix.
Yeah. I don't know, ask him.
Yeah, and he's still shaking his head because and then the Greek athletes are training under the vigilant eye of their trainers again. A very nicely drawn image, and I will say probably quite close to how it would have been. Obviously, the Greeks trained totally starkers, but we're not going to put that in a children's comic, so it's fair to add the skirts, I think.
They've trained and competed in the news. That was
the whole point was, you're judged by your physique alone. That's the whole point.
Meanwhile, you can see the panel down there. Asterix, Obelix are training really hard, as you see. That's laying down. So you got the centurions. The Romans have pretty much given up hope after this. And so the Olympic magistrates are going to be meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like this. The Spartans.
Yeah.
So the Spartans now. There is a famous soup / drink of the Spartans that
Yeah.
even the rest of Greece thought was pretty damn gross. And it's basically a combination of like pig's blood and some other bits and pieces.
It was
Nasty
called.
stuff.
It was called black. It was called. Roughly translated, it was black soup or black broth, and
Yeah, black
there
broth.
was a very famous quote by someone who actually visited Sparta, and it is quoted as saying when he actually sampled this stuff. So it could, I mean, this is called the legends. A man named Siberius.
Yeah.
Yeah, he says, but it's basically his comment was along the lines of after sampling that, now I know why the Spartans are so willing to die.
Yeah, which I mean, talk about dabbing with faint praise.
Yeah,
That's you don't. I kind of have a mental image that is probably like liquefied black pudding,
yeah.
which would not be nice. And I actually like black pudding, but no. You wouldn't want it liquid.
I think it was called melissomos or something. The actual Greek
Yeah,
name,
something like that. Yeah, I'm not gonna. My Greek's terrible. You don't want me to try and pronounce it.
Yeah.
So
So you got the Greeks now. I kind of like it. There's some definite there's a few things getting in here about. I noticed the way that
this is a beautiful decline and fall of the Romans. I think.
Yeah.
The Romans are declining. And of course, followed by the nicely rounded up in the Temple of that's actually in the Temple of Poseidon. I would hazard a guess from the artwork.
Yeah.
It's kind of, you can't decide which deity it is.
You're looking at the one. You're looking at the one at the bottom.
Yeah.
I mean, he's holding the lightning bolt. To me, that kind of suggests Zeus, but
yeah, but the horses definitely suggest Poseidon.
Yeah.
In that position. And Poseidon was known to take bulls as sacrifices as well. It's just, don't ever try and use it as an example of a please. I just, unless it's based on something real. My best guess is it's Poseidon, because Poseidon also had storms with the ocean. But I wouldn't put money on it. I really wouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, it's as I said, that in Olympia there was the famous statue of Zeus, which was supposed to be one of the ancient wonders of the world, the original seven. Didn't look much like that, but then again, we only really have like artist impressions to go off of anyway.
Yeah, I mean, as far as we know, Disney are right, and that's what it looked like, So.
Yeah. So yeah. Disney is canon. Where's Badger when you need him?
Ooh, let's not.
But this is the interesting thing that of course they're all meeting about is what effectively what they're getting a bit frustrated with everything going on here. They're basically the Olympic Committee is getting a little bit annoyed, but they've heard about this magic potion that's in play. And originally he goes and sees the Romans. He thinks it's them doing this.
Yeah.
And then said, look, and they said the rules: artificial stimulants are forbidden on penalty of disqualification. And he suddenly realizes, suddenly realizes what he said. There they are. And it's Asterix, Obelix, and Getafix there. So they're going to be telling them, says, is it true that you possess a magic potion that you intend to take before the games? Yeah, that's right. That's strictly forbidden. And he said, I'd like to apply for permission just this once to leave the sacred enclosure and consult our friends, which he was granted. So we are kind of getting very much into artificial stimulus. It's very modern sports.
Yeah. And then, of course, we have the inevitable discussion and humour that ensues as we see them all deciding that they suddenly can have 8 courses of food, and they're all incredibly upset at this news. And then the old veteran in the background, don't worry, fellas, it'll just be like 52 all over again.
Yeah.
Please make him shut up. This amuses me because I've spent the last few days watching Only Fools and Horses, and he just reminds me of Grandad in this panel.
Yeah.
It's kind of a bit of a British trope that there's always that one veteran is an older fella and he will not shut up about the war. It's just a trope.
Yeah.
I actually think I would imagine it. It's there, but it really came to the fore in
Horses.
So if you want to see examples of that, I strongly recommend that series.
So they're going to have so they have an argument here over who gets to compete here, and so Obelix says he should. Asterix, it's like, no, it probably wouldn't be fair because he's got superhuman strength. It wouldn't be fair. It wouldn't be in the spirit of things. And so they're basically so they're going to enter Asterix.
Because of this, and I quote, discriminatory anti-pot rule.
Yeah, I love it.
I love it. A pun. So punny.
Yeah. I was actually going to say, interestingly enough, I did actually sort of, I think I said in that previous thing that before it was taken down that there was actually some evidence of, so say, artificial stimulants in the ancient Olympics. So just say cheating at sports is it's nothing new.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as you invent a sport, you try and invent a way of cheating it, don't you?
So they're giving Asterix his train having a run here, and he realizes he's not going to beat the other athletes here.
Yeah.
He said, Obelix saying, "How about I tell them I fell into an amphora instead of a cauldron?"
Yeah. So that would get around the anti-pot rule.
And then they all the athletes here dreaming of honor on the podium there. And Dogmatics, they're dreaming of a gold bone.
There is a great joke here, yeah. So all the athletes, and then this one at the bottom. You'll see one of these days women will take part in the games, not just as spectators either. Yes, and I suppose they'll be driving chariots too. There's a great story of a woman dressing up so she could be a chariot racer, and she won.
Yeah.
So there is a great story on that from ancient times. So it's one of those that you kind of got to look for it, and it's one of those stories that everyone's heard vaguely. But yeah, it's a bit of fun there. I do love the idea that they've booked a block of seats.
Yeah, I like also, obviously, as we said earlier on, ancient Olympics very much an all boys affair. And I think even the first, I'm not quite sure when women were first allowed to compete in the modern Olympics. It wasn't all that long. It was maybe in the second or third games, the modern era. I'm not quite sure which one it was, but it wasn't too long before women were allowed to compete in the Olympics in the modern era.
So yeah, Although I do like the way they when they're set up and they're in the things. Now he says, "We act in a calm and dignified way and respect our opponents. We'll be good sports and not make ourselves conspicuous."
Yeah, up goal.
Giant up goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, for anyone who's noticed, that is an ancient gesture. It's not what you think it is.
Yeah, we've talked about this enough on this that salute. Yeah. We've talked about it a lot.
Yeah, this is definitely these next few panels though are definitely a dig at modern Olympics.
Yeah,
and the opening ceremony.
Yeah, I love the athletes and Thermopylae, Sparta, and then you got one guy coming in from Rhodes. He's a colossus of a man. Which is,
yeah,
not a bad little pun.
Not a bad little pun. I do like the idea that quote, the marathon team has had to come a long distance.
Yeah.
And some of the competitors from Attica are mysteriously elusive. That's a great little pun on the Elysian Mysteries, which I'm not going to go into, but if you get that joke, it is quite actually really funny. And again, this is what I love about these books. It doesn't explain the joke. It doesn't. It really just lets you see the joke for yourself. And if it's there, it's there. If it's not, it's not.
Yeah. Which is, as I said, this is definitely, as I said, there's definitely some of these jokes I would never have gotten as a kid.
Yeah.
And then you got there's big cheers coming for Asterix. It said the Roman team, is received with general indifference.
Except, of course, for Asterix, who is flag bearer and sole member of the Gaulish team.
Yeah.
And so his entire village are behind him. So here we go.
He's getting up for his first race, 20 laps up and down the stadium. They're off, and unfortunately, Asterix, he just comes out. He comes in sort of the Greek athletes beat him. The Spartans, by the look of it.
Yeah, looks like the Spartans have beaten him there. Although he didn't do too badly, and freely admits the Spartans are stronger and the Romans are fit.
Yeah.
Good sportsmanship. But then ruins it slightly by whinging that if only they'd used an ordinary pot to make the potion. Says Obelix, to which Asterix replies, it's not a question of taking potluck. And I love the little Asterix comment here, we see here the origin of an expression which has come down to us from ancient Olympic times.
Yeah, it's great.
Probably along with pot shots and
and I love the fact, going on here as well, they're complaining, the track was soft,
Climate, it's a hard climate, don't forget the altitude.
Yeah. Basically, all the blooming excuses like you get when your person you're rooting for is lost.
And then we've got the all-in wrestling boxing.
Yep. Which would have been again. I like the fact that they kind of got the hands taped up to look like gloves. Now, there was they actually did wear something over their hands in ancient Greece. They were like leather straps over the knuckles. They weren't necessarily there to protect the hands. They actually, if anything, were designed to cause more damage. Let's just put it this way: modern boxers would probably be kind of shocked at somewhat of sort
of studded leather, that kind of thing.
Yeah, they were.
It wasn't, although again, it's one of those, it's a modern, I can understand why it's there for kids, I wouldn't want a kid reading a comic book where a boxer had studded leather on his knuckles and was giving someone a beating.
Yeah.
So I totally understand where that's coming from.
And quite often people would die in the combat sports events in the ancient Olympics because it was it was a disgrace to quit.
Yeah.
So people would end up seriously injured or not, if not killed, in some of these events. And as I said, that the boxing, they mentioned all in boxing, wrestling. As I said, there's some historical basis for the sport of pancration, which, as I said, modern day mixed martial arts is about the closest thing to that.
Yeah. So, and I will say this, this idea though that no matter how big and strong the boxer is, when mummy gives him a slap, he stays home and thinks about what he's done.
Yeah.
That amuses me. But this little again, more sarcasm from the characters here. A healthy body is a healthy mind, they said, as he rubs his head with a black eye and a broken nose.
Yeah.
Not so much. This thing about them being given palms, close, very close. Usually given almost triumphal crowns.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in various colours, but the crown was, the indicator of the winner. So again, laurel wreaths mostly.
Yeah.
Why's my tongue tripping up today? So again, close. I can understand why it's been altered. It's one of those.
So at the end of the day, you got the athletes back to the sacred enclosure to take stock. The Rome says, well, view your brilliant results. Do you think Julius Caesar is going to be pleased? And all the Romans are shaking their heads. The Roman team is not doing as well as they are being expected to do. Like the Spartans won the sprinting. The sole athlete from Rhodes won the combat sports. So you've got a lot of so you've got some Romans who are going to be expected to win some events here. And they're and I love to say that the Olympic Senate magistrates and priests officials have assembled filibuster to the great orator.
Yeah, filibuster the great orator. I do like that one. And again, he's another cousin to diabetes. I do wonder if this is not a comment on small island nepotism as well.
Yeah, quite possibly.
In the family. Because they seem to have all the best jobs, the diabetes cousins. But no money, no tourists. He's got a point, so they have to let the Romans win. At least one.
Yeah. So he's got an idea for a new event. Is all Romans are summoned to the gymnasium.
Yeah.
Now, bear in mind that for the purposes of this, Asterix and Obelix, the Gauls here, are saying that they are Romans.
Yeah, and Getafix, quite rightly, I'll never get used to it. You're Gauls, you're not Romans, you're Gauls, and you'll never get used to that. So
they're getting explained there's going to be exclusive race for Romans only. So it means no matter what happens, a Roman's going home with some gold.
Yeah.
So it should keep Julius Caesar a bit happier. And of course, they'll all want to be the ones who did it. And they said, "What a pity you can't take a few drops of magic potion before the race." Or Obelix says, and he notices Asterix starts saying this very loud. Magic potion? You mean like the potion in the cauldron in the shed over there? He said, well, yes, of course. I mean Obelix.
The cauldron with the door that doesn't shut properly.
Yeah.
And that isn't guarded by night. That would be the one you mean.
Yeah.
The one we're not allowed to drink. Because, of course, Asterix is much cleverer than you would think.
Obelix isn't. Whatever's going on here, Obelix is not in on. Okay, so
yeah, Obelix is quite clearly not in on it, and he thinks being Romans turned Asterix and Getafix a bit crazy too.
Yeah.